7 years ago, the destruction of mankind occurred. Everyone was running headlong to face the terrible disaster called Dungeon Break. That is the opening of the monster dimension gate to the human world. Various terrible monsters came out of the dungeon, and because of this incident, many humans died miserably, including Han Sun-Jun's parents, our protagonist this time. That day it was as if Sun-Jun had lost everything. He swore to himself with tears of blood that Han Sun-Jun would become a hunter and rip the monsters apart. But sadly, 7 years later, on this day, Han Sun-Jun sat pensively in the Destruction Memorial Park lamenting the fact that he was kicked out of the Hunter Training Center. Today the head coach directly told Han Sun-Jun in front of everyone that Han Sun-Jun could no longer be a part of the training ground. The chairman said that it usually took the awakened only a few months to complete training at a training facility like his, and after that, they will immediately become hunters. But Han Sun-Jun had been studying at that training ground for too long. It had been 7 years. The chairman boldly said that Han Sun-Jun's talent was lower than trash, so he kicked Han Sun-Jun out of the training ground for the sake of maintaining their training center's reputation. Han Sun-Jun was dumbfounded at being chased out like that. He was reminded of the evil words from his colleagues who always mocked him every time he came to the training ground. They thought Han Sun-Jun was a stupid loser who couldn't increase his stats for 7 years. Han Sun-Jun was furious. He crumpled the tin bottle in his hand until it dented. He was annoyed that his stats weren't going up. At a time of slump like this, Han Sun-Jun overheard a conversation between a small child and his mother. The mother asked how the father died. The little girl replied that their father died saving people till the end. The little girl looked proud when he said the reason for his father's departure. Then the mother gently continued to ask what should the child do if the child experiences the same thing in the future. Eagerly, the little girl replied that he would be strong and never give up. Han Sun-Jun was like being splashed with cooling water, which instantly brought him to his senses. He immediately approached the mother and child who were embracing, then bowed with all his heart as a form of respect. Then after that Han Sun-Jun ran fast while determined he would not give up now, considering he had fought for 7 years. Under a dark sky and pouring rain, Han Sun-Jun knocked on someone's door. Apparently, it was the residence of the training ground master. Han Sun-Jun had come begging to be given another chance. At least he asked to be accompanied by taking the hunter exam one more time, because Han Sun-Jun refused to give up like this. Even the chairman was angry. He stared at Han Sun-Jun with bloodshot eyes and cursed at the young man. The chairman instead accused Han Sun-Jun of behaving like this because he wasn't willing to lose his money all along. Han Sun-Jun emphatically explained that it was not about the money, but instead, Han Sun-Jun was beaten so hard that he fell on a pile of trash. With a vicious face, the chairman called Han Sun-Jun a loser trash and left the young man alone in the rain. Han Sun-Jun's condition was dire. He sat resignedly among the piles of dirty trash and under the pouring rain. Han Sun-Jun really wished he had a unique trait, or at least a pretty good talent. Suddenly, the system appeared and said that they were praising the Iron Will. Han Sun-Jun was stunned to see the notification, especially when suddenly the pool of water under his feet suddenly turned deep and drowned him. Han Sun-Jun shouted for help, but by the time the chairman came out, he was too late. The young man had disappeared from his place. Han Sun-Jun entered a strange dimension that seemed to submerge him. Han Sun-Jun was barely out of breath. He finally entered the waterless dimension and floated in that dimension. At this place, the system said that the Tower of Trial had selected a suitable candidate from Earth. The shock wasn't over yet. Han Sun-Jun was told to choose a difficulty level to get a commensurate reward. Even though Han Sun-Jun did not understand what was happening, he did not want to back down. His instincts led him to choose, and he would soon be transported to the first floor of the Tower of Trial. Han Sun-Jun was teleported to an arid, hot desert. Han Sun-Jun was given a sword as a weapon. Then the system notifies that the prize for completing this trial is a unique trait. Hearing that, Han Sun-Jun was overjoyed, because of unique traits was something he had wanted so badly for these 7 years. Just as Han Sun-Jun was about to pick up his sword, the sand beneath his feet suddenly stirred, and a sand golem appeared as the difficult opponent Han Sun-Jun had chosen. This young man was dumbfounded at his towering and terrifying-looking opponent. Even so, the system gave him another 9 minutes to survive or defeat the golem. Still shocked by the situation at hand, Han Sun-Jun could only run when the massive golem raised a leg and barely stepped on it. Before the shock in his chest was over, the system suddenly announced that the penalty for failing this trial was death. Han Sun-Jun continued to run from the golem. He wondered if he could escape and survive the golem just by continuing to run. Looking back, Han Sun-Jun realized that this monster's movements were quite fast despite its large size. Han Sun-Jun concluded that he couldn't keep running for 9 minutes non-stop considering his weak stamina. Han Sun-Jun tightly gripped the sword in his hand and realized that he should have died running, or at least died fighting. But he hadn't taken the chance yet. The golem was always on the verge of trampling on him. Suddenly, Han Sun-Jun flashed back to the malicious remarks of those who had looked down on him. This youth felt like they were giant golems that wanted to crush him to pieces. The determination in Han Sun-Jun's heart surfaced again. He didn't want to die by running away. So this young man turned and ran towards the nearest sand dune while keeping in mind the tactic learned during these 7 years. Han Sun-Jun's intention was, he wanted to destroy the core, or simply called the life core of a monster. Since the cores were usually a bit difficult to reach, Han Sun-Jun had to head up the hill. As the monster chased it up the hill, Han Sun-Jun immediately kicked the golem. Suddenly the monster immediately fell tumbling from the top of the hill. Han Sun-Jun did not waste this opportunity. He jumped on top of the golem's body and landed right near its core. Then with all his might, this young man hit the reddish stone that became the golem's core until it cracked. Han Sun-Jun was surprised to see that the hard stone did not crumble as quickly as he had expected. Just as Han Sun-Jun was about to attack the core again, the monster noticed its presence and immediately grabbed its body. Han Sun-Jun screamed in pain as his body was squeezed by the monster golem. At this moment of his slump, Han Sun-Jun recalled the condescending looks of the people who had insulted him. Suddenly Han Sun-Jun's determination returned. He raised his sword with a blood-stained arm. Then, while shouting for the discordant voices in his ears to silence, Han Sun-Jun threw the sword with all his might until it hit the monster golem's core. The sand golem monster screamed in agony, just as the information appeared from the system stating that Han Sun-Jun had succeeded in destroying the monster's core. The sand golem shattered and Han Sun-Jun fell. The young man rose from the sand in disbelief. He really didn't expect to have managed to subvert a single opponent. Han Sun-Jun was finally able to smile happily even though his body was covered in wounds. The system congratulated Han Sun-Jun for successfully completing this trait. He was also rewarded with several valuable points and a fast recovery skill that would allow the wounds on Han Sun-Jun's body to recover quickly. Han Sun-Jun was dumbfounded at getting all those points. He didn't expect that all his hard work for 7 years, all the insults he had to hear, would finally pay off with the completion of this mission. Now, Han Sun-Jun had become a hunter, but Han Sun-Jun was aware that he could obtain all of this only if he could survive. Suddenly, a reddish-black mist appeared from where the golem had died. Han Sun-Jun dumbfoundedly looked at the golem. Just as he was about to touch it, the system appeared and asked if Han Sun-Jun wanted to absorb the spirit from the sand golem. Despite his astonishment, Han Sun-Jun pressed the yes button as the mist slowly entered his body. The moment Han Sun-Jun finished absorbing the golem's energy, the system appeared and again congratulated him on his achievement. When all the fog had completely entered, the system notified Han Sun-Jun that he already had a 5th soul. Han Sun-Jun was silent with his eyes closed. He felt the spirit within him. Now Han Sun-Jun understood that he could store spirit if he absorbed it. Without delay, Han Sun-Jun tried to use the power of the spirit. Instantly, Han Sun-Jun's strength and health increased significantly. This young man was dumbfounded to feel his entire body flowing with extremely strong energy. Han Sun-Jun was glad that his stats had actually increased, considering that all this time he had difficulty increasing his stats even though he had tried and trained as hard as he could. At this time, the system appeared again and announced the effect of the unique trait that Han Sun-Jun had managed to obtain. Namely, Han Sun-Jun could absorb the spirits of dead monsters and use them at will. Another effect of this trait is that it can permanently increase stats. Han Sun-Jun smiled happily reading all the information. Then, a portal appeared and a notification from the system told him to wait in the waiting room first. Once again, despite looking doubtful, Han Sun-Jun still stepped into the portal because he felt he had no other choice. Han Sun-Jun was thrown into a room. In this place, the wounds on Han Sun-Jun's body that looked severe suddenly healed on their own. He's back as fit as ever. Of course, Han Sun-Jun was shocked to see this. Even so, he still stepped towards the bed in the room to rest his body for a while. As he lay in silence, Han Sun-Jun began to wonder if he could really get out of this mysterious tower. This young man still wonders why this tower chose him. Han Sun-Jun suddenly woke up as he remembered something. Han Sun-Jun gave an order to the system to reveal the information about trial. Then came the time indicating 23 hours remaining to go to the next challenge. Han Sun-Jun was not surprised to find that there were still challenges from the other trails. Then, Han Sun-Jun gave an order to reveal information about the community. At this time, a chat room appeared which contained many other members chatting with each other about the trail and so on. While Han Sun-Jun was busy analyzing the contents of the conversation, the admin suddenly came in and provided important information that points were like the currency in this tower of trial. Without a point, they will not get a drop of water. Han Sun-Jun was dumbfounded while reading the information, especially when the admin says that points can only be obtained after completing the trial. Han Sun-Jun stumbled through the information. He imagined a parched body without water had to keep running to finish the trial to get points to buy water. Han Sun-Jun rubbed his face in frustration. He thought he might become a hunter as soon as he left that place. Finally, Han Sun-Jun glanced at the sword by the bedside and realized he couldn't last long with just one sword. So Han Sun-Jun opened a store to buy a few more items. Han Sun-Jun bought a small shield and started training with it and his sword. Han Sun-Jun was aware that all hunters would find it easier to learn skills that had already been learned. That was why Han Sun-Jun could not get over the fact that he was still farther from the starting line than others. So he kept training in order to catch up with the others. Exhausted from training, Han Sun-Jun lay down on the floor. The young man's body glowed with the healing effect of the waiting room, which instantly healed his wounds and returned Han Sun-Jun's body to its original state of health. With this, Han Sun-Jun was excited to continue training. Suddenly, this young man's stomach growled with hunger. Han Sun-Jun opened the system's inventory and took out the purchased food reserves. At this moment, Han Sun-Jun realized that his remaining 40 points had been used to buy things like weapons, water, and so on. Han Sun-Jun needed to quickly obtain additional rewards in order to rest easy. Exactly the time to go to the next trial, only 17 minutes remaining. At this time, Han Sun-Jun saw that the previously lively chat room was now deserted because the participants must have been preparing to enter the next trial. Originally, Han Sun-Jun had doubts about whether he could pass the next trial. But a second later, the young man's blue eyes lit up and he was determined to succeed again in conquering the next trial. Time passed and the countdown started. Finally, Han Sun-Jun entered the second floor trials after deciding to enter there. Han Sun-Jun was teleported to a green and awe-inspiring forest. It was only when he arrived at the scene, only then did the system notify Han Sun-Jun that his mission was to kill the leader of the orc tribe within a set time limit. Han Sun-Jun was dumbfounded as he stood on the cliff just above the orc tribe village. He saw with his own eyes how big, powerful, and terrifying these creatures called orcs were. This young man is horrified at the thought of him having to go to that village and kill its leader alone. In the village of the orcs, these creatures do not speak human languages, but grunting like a pig. This orc has a large green body and long fangs. Han Sun-Jun watched them from behind the bushes. This young man was analyzing the situation. If he fought one orc hunter, it would be tough, let alone fighting many. In order to defeat all of the orcs, Han Sun-Jun needed at least a team of E-rank hunters. Han Sun-Jun thought about stepping back and coming up with a better plan first. But suddenly he remembered one way. Han Sun-Jun gathered firewood and started the fire. Then he kept one burnt log for stock. Han Sun-Jun continued with the plan of sneaking closer to the orc village again. Han Sun-Jun remembered that even though orcs looked like lazy pigs, they were actually quite smart. Hunters always went hunting early in the morning and they would return after sunset. So Han Sun-Jun still had plenty of time. The only way to clear this trial, with its highest difficulty level and huge lack of strength, is by fire. Han Sun-Jun ran around the orc village while the guards were not on their guard and took a lunch break. This young man ran fast and kept throwing firewood that was already lit. The fire quickly blazed, burning this orc village. The orc monsters panicked to put out the fire. If Han Sun-Jun managed to kill a few workers orcs, then he would have nothing to worry about when he had to face the hunter orc this afternoon. Han Sun-Jun hid and waited for the one working orc that was alone. Then he stabbed the orc and absorbed its soul core. With this, Han Sun-Jun's proficiency and strength increased by a few percent. But a second later, a large orc guard appeared behind Han Sun-Jun. Immediately, this young man fought the monster without hesitation. At first, Han Sun-Jun was shocked and overwhelmed by this orc monster, but then he quickly activated the reserved soul to increase stats and increase his power again. Han Sun-Jun quickly defeated the orc guard, who was big and tough. After the opponent fell, Han Sun-Jun immediately absorbed the soul core of the orc guard while keeping a watchful eye on his surroundings. Once his stamina, strength, and agility improved after absorbing the orc guard's soul core, Han Sun-Jun immediately stepped into the orc settlement quietly. The orcs panicked at the sight of a hunter entering their already chaotic territory. But Han Sun-Jun quickly analyzed his opponent's 5 orcs. Han Sun-Jun only needed to be careful of the guard in order to kill the elder. Han Sun-Jun quickly advanced against the worker orcs. He closed in swiftly on the orc elder, but suddenly an orc guard blocked his steps and punched Han Sun-Jun with all of his might. This young man was not willing to give up. He continued to fight the great orc as his last form of resistance. With all his might, this young man directed the sword right into the big orc's chest until finally the creature disappeared. The moment Han Sun-Jun had just knocked down the opponent, the old elder directly shot a fireball at him, making the young man stunned and immediately fending off the elder's attack with a shield. When the old elder suspected that Han Sun-Jun couldn't possibly survive his attack, he was immediately shocked to find this young man still standing while glaring angrily at him. Apparently, this young man had managed to survive the fierce burst of flames, thus earning him the F-rank fire resistance skill. With this, Han Sun-Jun cursed angrily at the old elder. He absolutely would not let the boss of the orcs off the hook. As soon as he escaped the opponent's attack, Han Sun-Jun immediately stepped calmly towards the orc elder, who looked panicked. The orc chieftain attacked Han Sun-jun again with a blazing burst of flame from his staff. But not only did it not work, this time the old orc's staff as well as arm was even chopped off by Han Sun-jun, making the old orc scream in agony. He immediately ran backwards into his tent. With a devilish face, Han Sun-jun stepped slowly following the creature. As Han Sun-jun entered the camp, he saw the old elder hugging two small orcs as if protecting him. Then there was also a small orc crawling under Han Sun-jun's feet as if begging to be released. Han Sun-jun remembered the horrible incident when his parents died. That day Han Sun-jun's parents protected him by asking Han Sun-jun to run and save himself. The moment Han Sun-jun was lost in the reverie of the small orc at his feet, the orc pulled out a dagger and prepared to stab him. But quickly Han Sun-jun hit the creature until it fell. In his heart, Han Sun-jun was determined that even if he had died and become a ghost, he would still kill all the monsters he encountered without mercy. With this, Han Sun-jun successfully completed the second floor challenge. Once back in the waiting room and realized he was no longer able to use his old shield, this youth opened the hologram screen to search for information about other hunters. He saw that half of the group had been killed by the enemy. In the community chat, Han Sun-jun saw that there was someone who could use a voucher to return to Earth. By sharing the information they know from the question voucher, the atmosphere of the chat room turns into a place for exchanging information. Putting aside the small details because this is the main point, there are devices for sale after clearing the 5th floor that can be used to return to Earth for a few days. There is also information that says that above the 7th floor system expansions that will still occur and items that can return the will to Earth permanently are sold there. Han Sun-jun was clearly excited to read the information. He imagined becoming a rank hunter if he returned to Earth with his current abilities. Sun-jun opened his information screen and saw a significant increase. He was now dizzy because he wanted so badly to return to Earth and show off this ability. Han Sun-jun was sad at the thought of having to pass through the 8th floor to return to Earth because he had almost died on the 2nd floor. Han Sun-jun tried to think positively now that his stats had risen to the vulnerable 20 seconds. Han Sun-jun first threw away his torn clothes and absorbed the 5 souls he had obtained. After absorbing the 5 souls, the status on Han Sun-jun's hologram screen increased even more, made the young man realize his body was full of strength. Han Sun-jun immediately tested his strength by running around the room, even around the roof of the spacious room. But because he wasn't used to using his now massive strength, Han Sun-jun hit a wall. This youth realized there was a very significant imbalance in his body due to the unexpected growth and strength. Satisfied with his current abilities, Han Sun-jun opened a shop and purchased several new attributes such as a stronger shield. Not forgetting he bought swords and robes that have magic effects as well as Indra's sharpness. Now that Han Sun-jun had to adjust to the item he had just purchased, thus this young man returned to training tirelessly. He wanted to become so strong that no one else would dare to approach him or injure him. Finally, Han Sun-jun returned through the portal and entered the 3rd floor on hard difficulty. The theme of this trial is duel. Han Sun-jun entered the cave and looked around the dark surroundings. The system appears and provides information that the opponent will appear in 5 seconds. Since the opponent's appearance this time was announced by the system, it would probably be the same as golem monsters coming from anywhere. So Han Sun-jun was on alert, getting into his stance. But until the countdown was over, the enemy named Guardian Darkness had not yet been seen. But suddenly the black shadow behind Han Sun-jun's back moved and stabbed his body with a wide, hideous grin. Han Sun-jun growled in annoyance at the red eyes of the opponent that turned out to be some kind of doppelganger. Han Sun-jun was stunned to see the dark monster stab at him. Quickly he kicked the creature, but the monster managed to quickly dodge it. Inside the dark cave, Han Sun-jun faced this being of the doppelganger type. The monster had a dark face and body, complete with all pointed teeth and a long protruding tongue. Han Sun-jun stared at the creature furiously. He was relieved that the wounds on his body could be healed with the recovery skill. This young man was also relieved he managed to fight back in time, or else his stomach would have been cut open by the opponent's weapon. Now Han Sun-jun was facing the creature and noticed that the doppelganger's alert position matched Han Sun-jun's movements. To find out if his opponent was copying his attack moves, of course Han Sun-jun had to fight back. When they fought and Sun-jun managed to injure this creature, he realized that this creature was not only filtering his movements during battle but also the healing method he had. Then the monster rushed at Sun-jun swiftly and copied its attack move just now. Since Sun-jun already understood it was a mock move, he managed to dodge it in time. Then Sun-jun counterattacked by making use of the moves from his weak swordsmanship. This young man attacked the doppelganger blindly. They jumped here and there, attacking and injuring each other. Just as Sun-jun felt he had attacked properly, suddenly the blade of the sword was right in front of his face. Sun-jun almost got stabbed by the enemy. Luckily, he managed to fight back and parried the attack in time. A second later, the doppelganger put up a fight that was fast enough and no less fierce. Sun-jun was shocked to realize his opponent had become stronger in such a short amount of time. but Sun Jun refused to lose. He used the special effect of his suit to increase his speed. Sun Jun shot swiftly towards the enemy. He tried to injure his enemy's body at high speed. Luckily, Sun Jun's attack succeeded. However, this young man had to pay a heavy price by having his right arm cut off. Sun Jun was taken aback. He panicked and screamed loudly, seeing his arm just fall off. But Sun Jun still did not give up. He tried to refocus and stared at the doppelganger, who suddenly remained silent, not attacking. Sun Jun analyzed that his enemy was healing himself. Seeing an opportunity, Sun Jun immediately thought of a way to defeat the enemy even without a sword and right arm. Finally, Sun Jun would again use the high-speed skill. He was going to try crazy methods because, according to Sun Jun, it was better to die after trying to the end than to sit idly by and wait for death. Sun Jun ran as hard as he could while screaming loudly. He didn't care even if his opponent opened his eyes and prepared to counterattack. Sun Jun kept running until he finally bumped into the monster. He smashed the ghastly dark body several times against the cave wall until the doppelganger's body was shattered. While the monster had no strength to fight back, this opportunity Sun Jun immediately used to decapitate the doppelganger with his shield. So with this, Sun Jun had won the duel on the 3rd floor. After clearing the trial on the 3rd floor, Sun Jun entered the waiting room on the 4th floor. Here, Sun Jun's severed arm had returned. He immediately stretched and tried to hit the wall in front of him to make a wide hollow. Seeing this mark of his punch, Sun Jun smiled happily as he realized his arm had completely recovered to how it was before. After feeling relieved that his arm had completely recovered, Sun Jun immediately ambushed the doppelganger's spirit soul. This young man was amazed to feel how dense the doppelganger's spirit was compared to the other spirits he had absorbed. So strong was the doppelganger spirit that it raised Sun Jun's rank to E rank. Because Sun Jun's rank rose, his skills also updated. Now, Sun Jun could also absorb the skills of the opponents he managed to defeat. Sun Jun was clearly dumbfounded upon reading this notification, because acquiring skills is not easy. In the previous match, Sun Jun even had to put his life on the line to acquire the recovery skill. Sun Jun smiled happily. He realized that even if his chances weren't 100%, at least he had this other stroke of luck. Sun Jun tried to enter the 4th floor chat room to see the conversation there. Inside the room chat, people started discussing the next trial. Some say that the challenge in the next trial is an integrated trial. That is a kind of teamwork to win. Sun Jun suddenly glared when he saw someone giving out information regarding the competition between hunters in the next trial, which means they must be willing to kill each other to win. Before long, Sun Jun finally entered another dimension to meet another challenger. The challenge on the 4th floor in general is to beat the goblins to their king within a predetermined amount of time. The penalty for the trial this time was another death. Sun Jun was teleported to the 4th floor and met 2 other people who would become his partners. Sun Jun, who couldn't speak well, couldn't strike up a conversation with the other 2 people. Finally, a girl on Sun Jun's left side spoke up and introduced herself as Lee Haein. He was an E-rank hunter. Then the big man on Sun Jun's right side introduced himself as a melee fighter, and his name was Lee Sung-hoon. He was a D-rank hunter. Seeing Sung-hoon's arrogant attitude, Sun Jun thought that this man must have been the top of his team before. Now came the time for Sun Jun to introduce himself. Sun Jun humbly said that he was not a hunter and only a newcomer. Obviously, this instantly made Sung-hoon smile mockingly at Sun Jun. This big man immediately told Sun Jun to step aside and not disturb him later. A brief debate ensued between them. In essence, Sung-hoon looked down on Sun Jun very much. Even so, this young man tried not to be afraid, considering that he had often heard similar ridicule. Sun Jun tried to hold back the ridicule because he saw in Sung-hoon who was competent enough to be responsible for his words. After all, in this trial, skill is the most important thing. They entered the big gate as a team. Once inside, they are warned to complete the mission as a team, and asked to complete the mission before the other team. As soon as they entered the gate, the small goblins immediately flocked to attack. Sung-hoon, who stood at the forefront, was overwhelmed by the goblins alone. He told Sun Jun to immediately fight and help him, making Sun Jun even more annoyed that he had cleared out the goblins around him all by himself. Again, Sung-hoon also grumbled at Haein for not being able to give him a buff. Sung-hoon was completely overwhelmed. Finally, Sun Jun decided to help the big man. He drove quickly near Sung-hoon. It was then that Haein noticed that the goblins by her side were no longer attacking. Apparently, they had all been defeated by Sun Jun alone. Haein was stunned to see the goblin carcasses strewn beside her. The goblins pressed Sun Jun even more. It pisses him off that they have such diverse and dangerous attacks. When Sung-hoon's sword was thrown, and he was almost slashed by one of the goblins, Sun Jun suddenly stepped forward and slashed at the goblins alone. Sung-hoon was taken aback by the agile movement of Sun Jun's attack. When the goblins were completely defeated, Sun Jun, who stood proudly in front of Sung-hoon, said to ask the big man to step back and stay away from him. because Sung-hoon's existence bothered Sun-jun very much right now. After saying that, with a sharp and determined look, Sun-jun dashed towards the remaining goblins, making his two successful comrades gape wide in admiration at Sun-jun. After single-handedly slaying a herd of goblins, Sun-jun obtained the Goblin Hunter achievement. After all the goblins died, he absorbed their souls as he walked leisurely. Sun-jun realized that his comrades had not seen this unique trait of his, so he could absorb their souls without any problems. By using the stored soul, Sun-jun's stats rose again. His stats will increase permanently and his points will increase. Sun-jun also obtained the skill possessed by goblins, namely Field of View, which meant that his visual acuity would improve greatly with this skill. Sun-jun smiled secretly in pleasure at acquiring this skill. He also approached his friends and said that he would lead the team. This time Sung-hoon did not argue because he had seen for himself how great Sun-jun was when fighting. After everyone agreed that Sun-jun would lead, they went down the area to go deeper. But the deeper they went in, the quieter the area became. Hae-in was even surprised to see the situation was so quiet, because the goblin kept popping up. Sun-jun suddenly dashed off somewhere, surprised his two colleagues and put up their stances, suspecting that an enemy was about to attack. But apparently they only found goblin carcasses strewn around the fountain. Sun-jun touched the blood of one of the goblins and realized they had just died. Apparently elsewhere, there was a fierce fight between goblins and other hunters. Even though there were more goblins, they still lost to one of the hunters. Even the man casually climbed onto the goblin's shoulders and said that he was sick of continuing to kill goblins since earlier. Then he jumped, and one of the goblins slashed his comrades in the head. After that, the hunter attacked the goblins until they all died, while the hunter's teammates just complimented him from the edge. Because the tough hunter felt that he was only working alone, he ordered one of his colleagues to open the entrance gate to the boss's headquarters from the 4th floor. When the big gate was about to be opened, a dimensional wall appeared that locked them in the area. It was only then that a notification appeared from the system that they could only fight the boss after defeating the other team. Suddenly they were surprised to see the notification, especially when they saw the team from Sun-jun approaching. Sun-jun glared at his opposing team. He realized that if he didn't want to die, then he had to dare to take the risk of killing his opposing team. They face each other and prepare to start the fight. The first Sun-jun ran to his enemy while determined that the current him would be willing to do anything in order to survive and prove himself. Then Sun-jun shot swiftly toward the opponent. The formidable hunter, who was seen as the leader of the opposing team, immediately ordered his team member named Lee Jin-ho to fully use the shield, until a protective wall appeared around them. Instead of flinching at the shining protective wall, Sun-jun leaped up and struck the shield with his sword until it shattered. The three opponents immediately fell into disarray, but Sun-jun wasted no time. He immediately launched again toward his opponent, delivering consecutive attacks that caught them all by surprise. Seeing Sun-jun's movement so fast made his comrades speechless with their mouths agape. The tough hunter from the opposing team is not easily defeated. There was a fight between them which was quite fierce. Sun-jun was amazed that the figure that was his opponent was able to fend off his swift, agile movements. This young man also tried to attack in other ways. Sun-jun tried to attack from behind, but again it was strange that the man he was fighting against was able to block his moves. At this point, Sun-jun saw that the man's eyes were shining strangely. Nah, it's this unique eye that turns out to be able to read the movements of the opponent's sword. The enemy jumped away, but Sun-jun would not give him any rest. Sun-jun instantly threw his shield to block the man's vision. Then swiftly he slid towards the opponent and directly stabbed him without hesitation. After the opponent dies, the system appears and congratulates them on completing the special mission. After the fight was over, Sun-jun and Ko stood among the corpses of the opponents. Hae-in saw Sun-jun's arms shaking, so this girl asked if Sun-jun was okay. With a gloomy face, Sun-jun replied that he was fine, even though Hae-in was sure this young man must be in shock because he had to kill humans. Sun-jun told his comrades to kill the boss of the 4th floor, and his comrades replied that they didn't mind. So with his own hands, Sun-jun fought the boss of the 4th floor, which turned out to be a huge goblin. After the goblin boss was defeated, Sun-jun calmly jumped down. Seeing Sun-jun's attitude that was so quick to kill his opponent made Sun-hoon dumbfounded and thought the young man was a monster. As usual, after completing the mission, the system will appear and give congratulations, not forgetting that the hologram screen showed how many points Sun-jun managed to get after completing the mission. So after the mission is completed, they will immediately be moved again to the lobby. Sun-hoon said goodbye immediately after reaching the lobby. Only Sun-jun and Hae-in left. Sun-jun opened the conversation by hoping that the girl would return safely, but Hae-in was silent. The girl suddenly said that Sun-jun only did what needed to be done when killing their 3 rival hunters. That was just something Sun-jun had to do in a desperate moment like now. And if Sun-jun isn't willing to do it, then Heian will do it for them. Sun Jun was taken aback by the girl's words. He was finally able to smile with relief. Before leaving, Heian sent Sun Jun a friend request and told him to look for Lee Heian from the White Silver Guild after arriving on Earth later. However, Sun Jun simply remained silent without a response. After Heian left, Sun Jun looked back and he finally had to decide whether to absorb the human souls of the 3 hunters he had defeated. This young man looked gloomy, because he knows, if he absorbs human souls, he might get a horrible, greedy, merciless attitude. He could cross a line because of that attitude, and he wouldn't be able to go back forever. But in the end, Sun Jun still absorbed the souls of the 3 human hunters he had defeated, because he wants to become stronger, but he doesn't want to kill humans to achieve his goal. Unless the situation forced it, then Sun Jun would do it, because he had no way back. Sun Jun's dream of becoming a hunter had brought along another of his deepest desires. The Tower of Trial had presented him with an opportunity, so Sun Jun planned to make the most of the opportunity. Sun Jun immediately entered the lobby of the 5th floor after his business of absorbing souls was finished. In this lobby, the system has been expanded and there is a system that will judge each challenger's rank. Sun Jun was interested in the new system, so he tried to write down his name to check how far he ranked. It didn't take long for names to appear who managed to occupy the trial rankings of the 4th floor. Sun Jun looked up his name on the list and found that he was ranked 16th. Sun Jun was surprised to see his ranking quite high. The system provided information that the challenger in the top 50 would be called a pioneer. Those who were called pioneers would gain an advantage on the 8th floor. If Sun Jun could survive in the top 50 until the 8th floor, then he would obtain the privilege called Hello. Satisfied with reading the information, Sun Jun immediately absorbed the souls of the enemies he had already defeated. After absorbing 4 souls at once, at this point, Sun Jun felt like he had crossed the limits of an ordinary human. Sun Jun smiled happily, feeling this significant increase in his body. Then Sun Jun bought a return stone from the store in this lobby. This stone can bring players back to their original place for 3 days. To test this stone, Sun Jun planned to bring along its attributes as well. So without wasting any time, Sun Jun directly used the special stone to return to Earth. When Sun Jun decided to return to Earth, it was as if he had been sucked in by a huge hole. Sun Jun screamed in horror as his lower body continued to be sucked in by the large hole as if he was about to be turned into a liquid first. Finally, the transfer process is complete. Sun Jun saw the light from his bedroom window as he opened his eyes. He realized he was lying comfortably in his bed. To be sure, Sun Jun got up and looked around. He looked at his computer desk and some of the notes he had made. Finally, Sun Jun was convinced that he had returned to Earth. The first thing Sun Jun would do upon arriving on Earth was sleep. He was so happy to be laying back in his comfortable bed. But then this young man realized that his body odor was very sharp. Sun Jun decided to take a shower first. As this young man was about to get out of bed, his foot accidentally stepped on something. Upon looking, it appeared to be his shield, sword, and armor that had been brought over from the Tower of Trial. Sun Jun was pleased to see his weapons. At first, he just wanted to take them for fun. He did not expect to be carried down to Earth. Sun Jun started to worry at the thought of this, because if many people could bring their attributes back to Earth, it would mean that there would be more and more weapons on Earth, which meant the price for the hunter's supplies would drop drastically. Sun Jun wanted to sell the weapon as quickly as possible, but only people with hunter qualifications could sell weapons. So Sun Jun took out his cell phone and tried to contact someone he knew to help him take the hunter test. Elsewhere, Chairman H. Wang is watching his men busy sparring with one another. Suddenly, the formidable chairman's cell phone rang. When picked up, apparently it was Sun Jun. Chairman H. Wang thought Sun Jun was calling to ask for a refund. Sun Jun quickly said that Chairman H. Wang would not need to return the money if he helped Sun Jun take the test for hunter. The chairman questioned Sun Jun's ability because, in the previous test, this young man got the lowest score, namely F, but because Sun Jun said he would pay an additional membership fee, the chairman immediately fell silent and happily accepted the offer. After all, who would turn down money? Sun Jun smiled at the chairman's answer. Finally, they agreed to both take the test for Sun Jun. That same day, Sun Jun took a shower and intended to prepare himself for the hunter test. While staring at his reflection in the mirror, Sun Jun was surprised to see his body, which was now stocky and muscular. He noticed his body had changed quite a bit since he had gotten stronger. As he was ready and exiting his apartment, Sun Jun met a girl next door. Sun Jun greeted her, making the girl smile happily. They exchanged greetings briefly before Sun Jun finally moved on, leaving his neighbors to blush at how handsome this young man was now. That day, Sun Jun stood long enough by the side of the road to look for a taxi. Since he couldn't find a taxi, Sun Jun decided to use a crazy method to get to the test site. Sun Jun jumped from the roof of the building to another. He laughed happily, realizing he'd get there much quicker than taking a ride. At the Hunter Association building, Sun Jun was already being waited on by Chairman H. Wang and another man. In the first place, Sun Jun exchanged news with Chairman H. Wang. He said that he was busy taking care of mysterious things now. Chairman H. Wang is curious, but when they were about to ask further, their conversation was interrupted by another man. The man is Inspector Kim. He was the one who would be in charge of assessing the tests from Sun Jun. First, Inspector Kim told Sun Jun that he wasn't going to do the theory test because Chairman H. Wang had been observing him all along, so Sun Jun could directly conduct a test battle. They entered the arena together. Sun Jun descended on the match arena while the other two people watched from above. Before the match starts, Chairman H. Wang asks Inspector Kim to make Sun Jun fail as soon as possible. The inspector immediately asked Sun Jun to choose a difficulty level from 1 to 10. Even though he looked calm, Inspector Kim had prepared a monster that would instantly make any sword user lose. Before selecting the difficulty level, Sun Jun recalled the past. In the past, he had always chosen difficulty level 1 and was immediately beaten by a small goblin because he was still very weak at that time. But now, Sun Jun chose difficulty 10, which immediately made Chairman H. Wang's expression startled. Knowing that the person who had insulted him had been shocked by his choice, Sun Jun purposely looked up with a mocking smile at the chairman. Once the level of difficulty has been determined, the test begins immediately. A phoenix appeared with a fiery body. Never mind, Sun Jun was already frozen, unable to move in place due to being hit by the special skill of the phoenix. Meanwhile, from the observing place, Chairman H. Wang smiled slyly, because no matter how tough Sun Jun fought back, the chairman was certain he would not win, because the sword had been sabotaged by Chairman H. Wang until it cracked. Chairman H. Wang couldn't wait to see Sun Jun fall to the bottom due to unconsciousness. Chairman H. Wang reminisces about when he passed the hunter exam. At that moment he felt like the most powerful man in the world, but he quickly realized the distance between himself and his other competitors was growing. In the end, Chairman H. Wang couldn't keep up with them and finally gave up. According to Chairman H. Wang, in the world of hunters, being born with talent is everything. So he stopped accepting that fact and stopped trying. Chairman H. Wang thinks that humans will give up when they encounter a wall they can't overcome. Chairman H. Wang thinks that everyone should be, so he expected that even Han Sun Jun would act the same way sooner or later. In the arena, Sun Jun was shocked when his sword broke at the slightest contact with the phoenix's leg. The man knew that no matter how low-grade a weapon was, it shouldn't break that easily. Sun Jun was suspicious of one person. He glanced at Chairman H. Wang, who smiled mockingly at Sun Jun, making the young man even more challenged to defeat the enemy without weapons. Sun Jun jumped from the other side of the wall. Just as the phoenix was about to spit out flames, Sun Jun darted towards it, and with a broken sword, he stabbed into one of the phoenix's eyes. With that, phoenix panicked. He flew aimlessly until he hit a beam that was right above H. Wang's head. After that, Phoenix flew aimlessly again, then fell to the floor. With this, the test was declared complete and Sun Jun was declared victorious. After the test ended, Sun Jun obtained an identity card as an official C-rank hunter. The identity card was handed over by an employee of the association's office. While receiving the card, Sun Jun said would he be able to legally enter the world and sell items with this. Smiling kindly, the employee said that of course Sun Jun could do that. Meanwhile, in a room, Chairman H. Wang is angry at the office director. He was irritated that Sun Jun passed the test. The director refused to take the blame because he had done his best to sabotage Sun Jun's exam. While they were busy arguing, Sun Jun walked in and proudly said he had obtained his own hunter's license. Without hesitation, Sun Jun entered and stood right in front of Chairman H. Wang. To make small talk, Chairman H. Wang congratulated Sun Jun on officially becoming a hunter. But Sun Jun did not accept the congratulations. Instead, he brought up Chairman H. Wang's rank, who only got a C rank. According to Sun Jun, it was Chairman H. Wang who deserved to be called a failure, not him. Hearing the provocation from Sun Jun, Chairman H. Wang immediately became inflamed. He aimed a fist at Sun Jun but was dodged by the youth. Instead, Chairman H. Wang was hit hard in the stomach area. Then Sun Jun slapped Chairman H. Wang's face hard as a form of revenge. As Sun Jun was preparing to return, he was stopped by the association's director and asked to become an exclusive hunter in the association. Sun Jun was promised a high salary if he joined them. Sun Jun, instead of being interested, instead said that he knew about the director's manipulation of test difficulty. Sun Jun glared at the director, who looked panicked. Sun Jun said he would not bring up the matter, but he would not contract with someone as unreliable as Director Kim. Then Sun Jun walked away, leaving the director lost in thought alone. 2 days later, Sun Jun looked at the news on the laptop, saying that people were already suspicious about the rumors of them being kidnapped into the Tower of Trial. Sun Jun closed the laptop and looked at the phone screen to check the good sales of his goods. This young man has used his 3 days very productively. Finally, the system appeared and announced that Sun Jun would return to the Tower of Trial in a moment. When he was finally pulled back into the tower dimension, Sun Jun was no longer surprised. Instead, he was happy to feel the sensation of being pulled back into this dimension, although he would be busy when he returned to this tower of trial. As soon as he escaped from the big hole, Sunjun got back up on the bed in the lobby of the 5th floor. As soon as he got up, Sunjun realized that he couldn't use items freely either in the tower or in the real world. So for the time being, Sunjun would store the chests and stones he brought into his inventory. Within this 5th floor store was a magic power potion that allowed Sunjun to see the details of any item, as well as knowing the honesty of someone's words. Sunjun enjoyed reading the item's information, so he would buy it. After that, he also gave up some points to buy a new sword and a purple minimalist shield. Even though these two items are quite expensive, at least the effects given are commensurate with defeating the enemy. Sunjun immediately tried his two items to practice. After he felt he had practiced enough, Sunjun asked the system to open the gate to the 5th floor trial. On this 5th floor, the difficulty level is hard. The mission to clear is to defeat the boss of the wolves. The reward for this trial is, while the penalty for failure is death. Wasting no time, Sunjun instantly massacred any gray wolves in sight. Sunjun grumbled a bit because his opponent this time was so weak, until finally several large white-bodied wolves appeared in front of Sunjun. The wolf roared and gave off a terrifying-looking killing aura. Instead of being frightened of being surrounded by that pack of large wolves, Sunjun smiled happily. This is the challenge from the Tower of Trial that he has always been waiting for. A group of ferocious wolves immediately charged towards Sunjun, who jumped at them. Adrenaline in Sunjun's chest roared happily when he finally got this thrilling and fun challenge. As he slashed his opponent with the sword, Sunjun felt himself going mad because of his addiction to the gruesome fight. Sunjun continued to slash at dozens of ferocious wolves without hesitation, until finally he reached 100% Hunter Dagger skill. Due to this, the rank of the fast recovery skill rose to rank D. Sunjun was happy that his skill had progressed. Now he wanted to acquire a new sword skill. Just at that moment, another wolf came charging. Sunjun immediately countered with his sword to raise a sword skill. After a few moments of slashing here and there, no wolves were left around Sunjun. This young man then absorbed the spirits of the great wolves to increase his skills. Sunjun hoped that with this he would soon obtain another special trial. Then, Sunjun walked toward the boss wolf's lair. But strangely, around the passageway, Sunjun saw the corpses of huge wolves scattering. Sunjun approached one of the carcasses to find a sword wound. There were even new scratches around the wolf carcass. To analyze the aftermath of the attack, Sunjun used the skilled Eye of Truth. With this skill, he knew that the scratch marks were caused by a very strong aura attack. As Sunjun paused and pondered what could make up the mark, suddenly there was the sound of an extremely loud wolf howl. Sensing the wolf close by, Sunjun slid off, looking for the source of the sound. The moment it got close, Sunjun could feel the presence of another, stronger wolf. But strangely, the wolf boss has been thrown away, defeated by the other side. The system notified that the boss wolf had died. But what is the cause? The system is still figuring it out. While waiting, Sunjun dumbfoundedly saw the huge dead carcass of a werewolf in front of him. Just as the analysis was finished, a large male figure appeared clad in massive iron armor. It was an intruder that the system detected from another dimension gate. Now Sunjun's main mission has changed. Sunjun's latest mission was to kill this interdimensional intruder. Sunjun dumbfoundedly read the notification on the system. He just found out that this Tower of the Trial also exists in another dimension. As Sunjun was digesting what had happened, the Iron Warrior figure pointed at Sunjun with his sword instead, which meant he openly challenged a fight with Sunjun. As usual, instead of being afraid, Sunjun gave a pleased smile at getting such an unusual opponent. Sunjun didn't expect he would get into a situation where other challengers were trying to steal his gold just now. But Sunjun was relieved because the notification message in the system didn't say that he had failed the mission. The enemy in armor finally attacked after jeering at Sunjun. As the enemy came at high speed, Sunjun immediately thought of a solution by throwing the wolf monster's carcass at the enemy. But quickly the huge wolf carcass was slashed by the cunning man. Sunjun did not want to admit defeat to the mysterious man's strength, so Sunjun fought back with the speed he had. Now in seconds, Sunjun was standing behind this mysterious man while saying, "Got you." Sunjun immediately slashed at the mysterious man's armor with his sword, but strangely enough, the armor not only did not split but did not even scratch the slightest bit. Sunjun was clearly dumbfounded, especially when the mysterious man reversed his words and said back, "Got you." Sunjun tried to fend off the opponent's attack with his shield that he had bought at a great price. But finally, the shield was not strong enough to withstand the opponent's attack and split. Sunjun was thrown so far that he hit the cave wall. Even this young man's left arm was broken. The condition of the wound looks quite serious. The mysterious man was talking about class invading. The curious Sun Jun immediately interrupted the opponent's speech and asked what the meaning of class invading was. Sun Jun looked completely down because this had happened to him. Seeing Sun Jun in such agony, the mysterious man finally decided to explain to Sun Jun what an invading class was. So starting on the 8th floor there is a system expansion called Class Invading. At the 8th floor store, participants can buy tickets to interrupt other people's trials. That was why this mysterious charge had descended upon the 5th floor to interfere with Sun Jun's trial. Then Sun Jun asked why the mysterious man had called this dimension a barbarian dimension, as if he came from another world. The man in the armor replied that it was. Sun Jun tried using the skill Eye of Truth to see if the man was lying. Apparently, the mysterious figure in the armor wasn't lying to Sun Jun. Annoyed at being judged by a barbarian, the mysterious man intended to attack Sun Jun. But since Sun Jun had already gotten the explanation he wanted, it was his turn to explain the secret technique. So Sun Jun was able to endure the pain in his hand without the pain tolerance skill he had. In other words, Sun Jun was enduring it on purpose, because if he releases his severe arm, the fast recovery skill will automatically activate and heal his wound. So Sun Jun purposely feigned a pitiful look for his opponent to reveal all the information Sun Jun wanted. The mysterious figure was enraged at being toyed with by Sun Jun. He immediately flowed his sword with a powerful aura. He wanted to kill Sun Jun immediately. On the other hand, Sun Jun stomped the ground until it shook and his sword shot up. Immediately Sun Jun caught his sword, and with a confident smile, the young man said that his full strength would continue to increase. Sun Jun immediately used high-speed skills to move at lightning speed to attack the enemy who was staring in awe at his many skills. Even so, this mysterious man still tried to fend off Sun Jun's barrage of attacks. They continued to scuffle in all corners of Goa until finally the mysterious man couldn't stand it and pointed his sword filled with powerful aura at Sun Jun. Luckily Sun Jun managed to dodge in time. The sword stuck into a large rock and split it with one slash. Sun Jun realized that it would be very dangerous if he were to be hit by such a high-ranking aura. But knowing that his stats were higher, Sun Jun was sure he could dodge. The problem now was that impenetrable armor. Sun Jun was having a hard time destroying the armor with his current abilities. But again Sun Jun refused to lose as he continued to attack the mysterious man in armor from all directions. Until finally, the mysterious man was electrocuted by a very strong electric current and shook violently. Even the mysterious man vomited blood from under his armor. Apparently, it was a special effect from Sun Jun's sword which would paralyze his opponent with a strong enough attack. Sun Jun smiled happily because the skill he had been waiting for finally appeared. After taking a heavy hit from Sun Jun's sword skill, the mysterious man in armor fell to the ground. He was helpless with blood seeping from his armor mask. Sun Jun stared at his enemy with disdain, while the mysterious man was still grumbling. The man behind the mask said that he should have won under normal conditions. He asked Sun Jun how could a challenger from the 5th floor have that many skills. Sun Jun replied that it was the man who was careless for only believing in high-level armor and skills without tactics. Sun Jun then raised his sword to finish the fight between them. But the mysterious one was trying to buy time by making an offer for Sun Jun to provide the information he wanted. But it was a pity that Sun Jun no longer needed that information, so without hesitation, the young man raised his sword to slash at the opponent's neck. Blood gushed up until it hit Sun Jun's hand. This youth thought he was growing numb to killing opponents, but if Sun Jun hesitated and felt uneasy every time he was about to kill his enemy, then it would become a huge problem for him. Finally, Sun Jun received notification that he had successfully completed the challenge on the 5th floor. In that instant, the mysterious man's large body and armor would slowly disappear. Sun Jun rushed to absorb the enemy's spirit until it finally disappeared. After absorbing his opponent's soul, Sun Jun's proficiency increased by 15%. Sun Jun was relieved he had absorbed his opponent's soul in time. But this young man was surprised because the prize notification didn't appear for a while, until finally a notification from the system said that the previously prepared prize did not match the trial challenge that Sun Jun had just won. So all rewards will be changed. Sun Jun was shocked when he received the prize for rank. Moreover, he received quite a large amount of completion points as well as bonus points. Sun Jun understood that the C rank reward was changed to the A rank, because the change in trial difficulty showed how strong the challenger was. Sun Jun smiled happily at getting the A rank reward. Sun Jun then re-entered the 6th floor lobby. As usual, after entering the lobby, all injuries and abnormalities disappeared. After that, Sun Jun's name entered the Hunter rank order list. The first thing Sun Jun did when he entered the lobby was to take off his clothes and look at his inventory. Sun Jun stored the clothes and weapons, then sat at the edge of the lobby thinking there was a dimensional inventory. Sun Jun could not let his guard down. Sun Jun wanted to save his question voucher until the 8th floor. It was then that the system popped up and asked Sun Jun to ask a question because an administrator was there to answer the question. Sun Jun asked about the floor invasion as well, and could he be notified in person if there was an invasion. Sun Jun sent a message, and before long a reply was received. Sun Jun was slightly astonished that the reply came quickly. Then he read that floor invasion was a system where challengers could invade other challengers' trials within the first 10 classes. And that system can only be used after reaching the 8th floor, so it can't be used now. Then Sun Jun wanted to read more about the climbing breaker information but was denied access. So Sun Jun closed the hologram screen in disappointment. Sun Jun continued to retrieve items from the inventory. Apparently, he took the chest items and stones he bought from the earth. This young man used the chest to repair his shattered shield. Sun Jun was pleased that the crate's performance was so good. Then he used a cleaning stone which managed to make his body glisten. Apparently, the stone is indeed able to clean the user's body to all points. Sun Jun was very satisfied with the stone even though it was quite expensive. Since the time for the 6th floor trial was still quite long, Sun Jun decided to check the trial champion rankings and the chatter of the people in the community. While checking the trial champion rankings, Sun Jun was surprised that his name had suddenly risen very rapidly from number 16 to rank 3. Sun Jun felt that he was getting closer to benefiting from the continuous pioneer. Next, Sun Jun logged onto the community page to check the latest information from the other hunters' chats. Sun Jun was surprised they were discussing the assassination achievement. It was as if they didn't care to kill or rob their opponents or comrades. Sun Jun saw that the chat in the community was now in complete chaos. It was as if everyone was looking at each other hatefully. Suddenly someone appeared who informed him that the person who provided information about the 4th floor trial change is Naya Princess Sudi. He was the one who made the other hunters alert and stabbed each other. Sun Jun was annoyed to hear that name and would not forget it. It didn't take long before the time to enter the trial dimension of the 6th floor opened. As usual, when entering the portal, Sun Jun will get information about the difficulty level, time limit, and consequences for failing. After Sun Jun passed through the portal, he saw a wide expanse of sea. Above it were many wide floors for the entry of the participants. Sun Jun stood towering calmly as he gazed at the expanse of the sea. Then a notification appears that his partner will appear in a moment. It was strange that after the portal was open, Sun Jun's teammates did not enter the 6th floor either. But suddenly a spear hurtled towards him. Despite his surprise, Sun Jun luckily managed to catch the spear in time. Sun Jun pulled the spear so hard that a young man appeared at the tip. The youth fell to the floor and Sun Jun immediately scolded him for attacking his teammate, namely Sun Jun himself. But the youth instead smiled disdainfully at Sun Jun. He said out loud that killing is the easiest way to get achievements. Sun Jun was taken aback by the young man's words. He was annoyed and in a high tone asked if he thought it was okay to kill his comrades for the sake of power. The youth instead accused Sun Jun of hypocrisy after hearing his words. He shouted asking Sun Jun to look around him before commenting. Apparently right now around them, people were killing each other with their own teammates. Screams filled with pain, wailing, and killing intent reverberated around Sun Jun, making this young man only remain silent when his colleagues, as well as rivals, accuse him of hypocrisy. Continuing with the two people who were shaking hands on the left side of Sun Jun's trail. The crooked man and the fat man decided to work together without being affected by the other participants stabbing each other. The fat man lost his vigilance and ended up being stabbed right in the heart by Skinny Man. The friendly face of Skinny Man immediately turned violent when finally the victim was tricked and stabbed with a sharp object. From his spot, Sun Jun dumbfoundedly watched the scene. Sensing Sun Jun being distracted and losing his guard, his opponent turned his small arms back towards Sun Jun. This time, however, he met no mercy from Sun Jun. The youth was directly stabbed back by Sun Jun using his own spear. The foolish man was amazed that Sun Jun could move faster than him. Unfortunately, the stupidity and the awe were too late. He had already died at Sun Jun's hands. As soon as his opponent died, Sun Jun got his achievement and his strength increased. Sun Jun looked around again. He understands that the challenge in this trial is a combination, but he didn't expect that there would be a challenge in this class in the Tower of Trial. But Sun Jun had to stay logical and think that all the challenges in this trial were mere events so he could win. In one of the arenas, there was an ugly man who shouted with pride that the trial was made for him possessing water attribute magic, because he managed to fend off his opponent's attacks with the skills he has. Suddenly, the ugly man noticed Sun Jun's swift appearance. He immediately became alert. He thought that Sun Jun would not be able to break his shield, which claimed to be able to withstand any attack. But it turned out that the shield couldn't stem Sun Jun's immense power. The shield was easily destroyed by Sun Jun with just one strike. With this, the ugly mage was trampled on and was soundly defeated by Sun Jun. Then his soul belonged to this young man. While absorbing his opponent's soul, Sun Jun sat cross-legged waiting for another challenger. He doesn't want to fight other challengers who seem to have more on other tiles. Sun Ji-yoon thought that this trial on the 6th floor made him think about many things. Suspicious of others, the truth about low-ranked challengers, and the dark side of the Tower of Trial. Yet Sun Ji-yoon understood that false pity was absolute hypocrisy. Even if Sun Ji-yoon could spare someone who had come to challenge him, and told him to head for another tile, there would still be people dying. While Sun Ji-yoon was still busy contemplating a solution to this mess, an opponent suddenly entered his tile area. Sun Ji-yoon turned his head back to see 4 people walking calmly toward him. A yellow-haired man who stood in the middle started the conversation with a disdainful smile toward Sun Ji-yoon. Sun Ji-yoon boldly said that the 4 of them were just shameless thugs who formed a team to kill others for achievements. Hearing Sun Ji-yoon's words, it was obvious the yellow-haired man was offended. So with a sly smile growing on his face, the yellow-haired man ordered his 2 comrades to kill Sun Ji-yoon. He was the one from the yellow-haired man's side attacking, but Sun Ji-yoon was already on standby with a sword in hand. Suddenly the black-haired enemy on the other hand attacked Sun Ji-yoon with the Heart Solidarity skill. With this skill, Sun Ji-yoon felt a terrible throb in his chest. Before he had time to digest it all, the black-haired opponent stabbed his palm with a dagger, causing Sun Ji-yoon to feel excruciating pain in his palm and dropped the sword he was holding. Apparently, the opponent's special skill made Sun Ji-yoon feel half the pain his opponent was feeling. Just as Sun Ji-yoon's pain was relieved by the fast recovery skill, suddenly a big, bald enemy attacked by pouring seawater on Sun Ji-yoon. After being hit by that water, Sun Ji-yoon's strength decreased by a few percent. Likewise, abilities and stamina. Sun Ji-yoon received a penalty because of this. This young man just found out that if he gets hit by water, he will get a penalty. After Sun Ji-yoon's strength decreased, the 4 of them charged forward simultaneously to attack Sun Ji-yoon. At this time it must be the worst situation for other hunters. But a smile grew on Sun Ji-yoon's face as he was convinced that he was no ordinary hunter who could be defeated easily. Next, we see a horrible smile on Sun Ji-yoon's face when he has to face 2 opponents at once. 2 people in armor attacked Sun Ji-yoon from his left and right sides. The young man said that the opponent's plan to get rid of the weapon and lower his stat was quite good. But there is one big mistake they made. While saying that, Sun Ji-yoon caught the face of one of his enemies and smashed the opponent's head to pieces. While attacking, Sun Ji-yoon said that their mistake was choosing an opponent. The other 3 people were stunned to see Sun Ji-yoon's strength. Sun Ji-yoon immediately received the achievement for defeating an opponent with just 1 punch. He also got the skill of Contempt for the Weak. This meant that Sun Ji-yoon's stats would automatically increase if the opponent didn't manage to surpass his own strength stat. Another man clad in armor attacked the moment Sun Ji-yoon sensed his guard down. He threw the sword with all his might at Sun Ji-yoon, but this young man was able to swiftly move behind the bald man and immediately kick him hard on the head. Before his opponent fell, Sun Ji-yoon added such a powerful kick to the head that it was certain he would not survive. The big body fell right in front of his 2 colleagues who looked panicked. Sun Ji-yoon stepped calmly towards them. The black-haired man asked the yellow hair what they should do. Suddenly the yellow hair cut off his partner's left leg without hesitation. The black hair man screamed in pain as his leg was cut off. Likewise, Sun Ji-yoon immediately fell into pain as they were still bound by the black-haired skill. Sun Ji-yoon glared at his enemy. He well remembered the only thing they shared was pain. Sun Ji-yoon was grateful because the damage between them was not divided. But the problem was, Sun Ji-yoon's movements were restricted at this rate. The black-haired man continued to roar in pain. He swore at his own comrade for having the heart to do this to him. But suddenly the yellow-haired one even bravely brandished a sword right in front of his face. The yellow hair mercilessly continued to stab the black hair while threatening to keep Sun Ji-yoon from approaching him. The yellow hair shouted loudly with a panicked face that he would hole holes in the black hair's body if Sun Ji-yoon dared to come any closer. Meanwhile, Sun Ji-yoon could only freeze, feeling his entire body in pain. He was still able to move thanks to his pain tolerance skill. But if things like this continue to be allowed, it could become serious. Sun Ji-yoon thought the only way to stop this was to quickly kill the possessor of the Heart Solidarity skill. So Sun Ji-yoon threw his shield with force and a strong slash occurred. The object landed right on the black-haired neck to kill him instantly. Sun Ji-yoon shared in the excruciating pain as the young man's neck was severed. He fell down because of the great pain he felt. The yellow hair saw an opportunity and immediately attacked Sun Ji-yoon with his sword. Unfortunately, the youth's attack was caught with both of Sun Ji-yoon's hands. While glaring at his enemy, Sun Ji-yoon asked if the yellow hair wanted to experience the intense sensation of his neck being cut. The yellow one is getting angry. He wanted to move his sword and stab Sun Ji-yoon, but with his great strength, Sun Ji-yoon broke the man's sword instead. Then quickly this young man used the broken sword to slash the yellow-haired man's neck until his head was severed from the body. With this, Sun Ji-yoon managed to win over the opponent's achievements and gain high points. At this very moment, time runs out and the survivors occupy the platforms. Those who are still alive are entitled to advance to the next trial. Everyone cheered happily to get this notification. They were relieved they didn't have to kill other people to win. Meanwhile, Sun Jun was starting to suspect this was someone's plot to get the crowds enthusiastic enough to get achievements in the early rounds. In the end, the final winner is the one who manages to defend his team. Of course, there are some exceptions. Sun Jun looked at the one on his right who was lamenting his behavior and blaming someone else. After all, he had killed his comrades. Seeing that person, Sun Jun wondered if he also looked like a monster in other people's eyes. Sun Jun received the system's usual congratulations, not forgetting that the system announced that the prize he got this time was a mystery box that was sent directly to his inventory. After that, Sun Jun could return to the waiting room once he finished absorbing the souls of the 4 opponents he had just defeated. Once Sun Jun absorbed their souls, his proficiency in the innate skill necromancy increased by 100%, making Sun Jun's special skill rise up to 1 rank. Upon entering the waiting room on the 7th floor, Sun Jun immediately received a notification that his achievement list had been created. This young man was clearly curious about this notification. He immediately opened it and noticed that there was an S rank on the list. Sun Jun ended up reading through each explanation one by one in order to clarify his curiosity. There is a skill achievement called One Hit Killer which is obtained after successfully killing one challenger with 1 strike. And there are some new skills that he gets from killing someone instead of killing monsters. Sun Jun was amazed to get more rewards from killing than hunting monsters. Sun Jun continued reading and understood that when he obtained an achievement, he would also receive skills, points, stats, and various other rewards. Then, Sun Jun also looked at the inventory to retrieve his winning prize in the form of a mystery box. Sun Jun stared at the box with an astonished expression. He suspected that the rewards inside the box would not be as great as for the 6th floor if the items obtained were from F rank to B, so Sun Jun did not expect the contents inside the box to be good gifts. The moment Sun Jun opened the box, a small green creature jumped out of it. Sun Jun smiled slightly at the creature. He wondered what the creature was, and what should he do with it. Sun Jun was still desperately trying to catch the little green goblin. Although Sun Jun was agile, the goblin was apparently even more agile. He was able to dodge quickly and was flying around playing around with Sun Jun. Sun Jun was overjoyed when he managed to catch the creature, but sadly, the creature was savage enough that it directly bit into Sun Jun's hand, causing the young man to drop him with a loud scream of pain. The creature smiled mockingly, while Sun Jun turned into a vicious face. He had tried to be gentle since the creatures he was dealing with were small, but now Sun Jun's patience seems to have run out. He jumped up and started to act more seriously to catch the strange creature. Sun Jun was so serious that he finally hit the creature's head hard and crushed it. From the creature's body emerged a necklace. The system immediately congratulated Sun Jun for getting the highest grade item in a random box. The young man was astonished to get such a high prize. He didn't expect to get a B rank reward. The necklace shines brightly, showing its charm to its owner. Then, a notification popped up from the system saying that the necklace was named Wrought Iron Pendant. This iron pendant necklace has the skills to increase weapons related to metal and iron by up to 7%. But this necklace requires mana to activate the skill. The necklace fell into Sun Jun's hands. The young man also looked very curious about the item he just got. He immediately channeled mana into the necklace and automatically activated his skill. Sun Jun's body immediately glowed, feeling the effects of the necklace. Right now, Sun Jun's new necklace was adjusting to its wearer. When their feelings were united, Sun Jun felt that this necklace was really good. In fact, according to him, this necklace is better than most grade A items, because this item has a cheat that can increase its strength in fighting and defending. With a happy smile, Sun Jun immediately put on the necklace. He was totally aware that he had hit a pretty good jackpot, but when he just put the necklace on, the glow immediately disappeared, which indicated that his mana had run out. Sun Jun complained because an item this good had flaws that requires too much mana, so Sun Jun kept the necklace inside his clothes and would only use it in emergencies. After all, Sun Jun had to conserve his mana. Next, Sun Jun wanted to check his good innate skill 1 rank, but suddenly a hologram screen appeared and asked if Sun Jun wanted to enter the 7th floor now. Sun Jun was clearly surprised to get the notification, because so far the opponents are always given time to rest in the waiting room before entering the next trial. This youth said that it would be fine if he immediately cleared the next trial quickly, but it would mean the waiting time for everyone was eliminated. Sun Jun tried logging into the community to find information about this. Apparently, everyone in the chat room looked worried and curious about the abolished waiting time. There are also those who wonder if they will get a bonus if they start early. But from the people's conversation, Sun Jun drew the conclusion that they were not affected by this, because most of them are not interested and just want to go home soon. Sun Jun wondered if they were like that because they were from low ranks, or is it because the atmosphere is getting tense every time one trial goes up. In this chat room, there are also those who mention bandits or criminals who deliberately sell skill resistance. They are considered criminals because they have the heart to kill only for personal gain. Sun Jun himself agreed with that. He also guessed the thugs wouldn't move for now since the 7th floor trial was a challenge for solo players, so there was no reason for them to attract attention. In his heart, Sun Jun was determined that assassins who used their comrades' lives as tools were people he should both avoid and aim for. Then again, Sun Jun needed to quickly acquire a skill that could be used in any situation. After having a look around the community, Sun Jun checked the necromancy skill, which had risen to rank D on the 6th floor earlier. From the lengthy information on the hologram screen, Sun Jun realized that the basic effect of his skill had changed. Because previously this skill only increased the stats. Now this skill can also increase mana and defense. That meant the soul that Sun Jun had absorbed could transform into something like magic or give it shield defense. So Sun Jun hoped to increase the efficiency of his soul absorption skill, but unfortunately, the system said otherwise. Luckily, Sun Jun still needed defense skills to protect his body. Now Sun Jun took his sword out of inventory to test how good the soul shield he had just obtained was. Sun Jun threw his sword into the air and stretched his hand just below the path of the sword. Even if the shield failed to protect him later, at least Sun Jun could rest easy because the waiting room had a regeneration effect. The blade spun through the air before finally gliding right over Sun Jun's arm. Instantly the blade stuck above Sun Jun's arm and was unable to injure him due to the soul skill this youth had absorbed. This soul belonged to Song Jinuk, who had the power to withstand the opponent's attack and immediately healed him quickly. Sun Jun was delighted to see this skill. Then he looked at his stat ratings and realized he had dropped 1 rank from the previous trial. Sun Jun was indeed a little disappointed, but it was not a big deal, because all he needed to become a pioneer was to stay in the top 50. Sun Jun sighed, tired of having to check everything in the waiting area. He did a little warm-up before starting the action again. Because he didn't want to waste any more time, Sun Jun went straight into the 7th floor trial. The difficulty on this floor was at the hard level. The time given to complete the challenge on this floor is 40 minutes, and the requirement to escape from this floor is to complete 3 trials within the given time. If failed to complete the mission, the challenger will die or time out. While the prize for completing this trial is attempting a rank skill. After entering the 7th floor trial, Sun Jun was inside a mysterious dark passage. This young man walked straight down the passage despite feeling slightly uneasy at not being able to sense the presence of a single monster, until finally the end of the shining tunnel was visible. As soon as Sun Jun exited the passage, he entered the challenge area of the 1st floor trial. He must prove himself by conquering his own fears. This young man stood above the expanse of the desert. Sweat dripped from his sweat as he surmised that the opponent he had to face for the first time would be a sand golem. It wasn't long before the area of sand around Sun Jun shook, and out appeared the sand golem that this youth had been thinking about. Only then did Sun Jun understand that the meaning of clearing 3 trials within a set time meant that he had to redo the 3 trials that had been completed until now. This young man was quite calm because, with his current abilities, he felt confident defeating those sand golems by just closing his eyes. So Sun Jun thought, was it possible that the system had deliberately made the challenge this easy so that the participants would quickly pass to the 8th floor? But when I threw it down, this young man just realized that the monster was bigger than the previous one. Will Sun Jun be a failure this time? As usual, instead of being scared, Sun Jun smiled happily at seeing his opponent getting stronger. Without wasting any time, the golem monster raised its big hand and directly attacked the young man in front of it. Sun Jun immediately dodged after taking his sword from the inventory. Sun Jun immediately dashed along the monster's large arms and tried to slash through its body to find its pulse points. After observing the monster's body, this young man still couldn't find the monster's core, which was covered by its huge body. While he was busy thinking, the sand golem suddenly spun around and caught Sun Jun's body in its palm. The sand golem tried to crush Sun Jun by squeezing him tightly, but this young man used his mana and succeeded in destroying the monster's hand. Sun Jun finally decided to destroy the monster's entire body in order to find its core. Sun Jun swiftly leaped at the monster and slashed through several of its body parts. But unfortunately, the monster's body can slowly return to its original state. Sun Jun's face scrunched up at the regeneration ability of this sand golem. He had expected that slashing sand with a knife would not be easy, so the only way for this maker to defeat the sand golem is to find its core. Suddenly the sand monster went berserk. He took a swing, then jumped towards Sun Jun, who was running frantically. This young man had to manage to avoid that monster, because the moment he fell, Sun Jun would be hit by a large wave of sand. Sure enough, the moment the monster landed on its body, Sun Jun was immediately pushed by the huge wave of sand for several meters. This young man even lay down helplessly among the many piles of sand. This time Sun Jun was truly irritated at the creature. He quickly got back on his feet, readied his sword, and used the skill Triple Laceration. This skill is able to strengthen weapons with mana for up to 3 attacks in the future. When using this skill, the power of the sword attack will get stronger with each attack. Sun Jiun nimbly jumped at the monster and directly slashed one of its arms. Without wasting any time, the young man jumped back and cut the sand golem's body parts again. In his heart, Sun Jiun was shocked to see that he could slash such a large monster with just one strike. He remembered the owner of the skill was the mysterious man who barged into his floor. He used to be irritated that his floor was entered by outsiders. But now, Sun Jiun instead smiled and thanked the knight in his heart. Sun Jiun knew that the golem would definitely continue to regenerate with sand. So Sun Jiun just needed to keep chopping at it without stopping until the core was found. While continuing to attack the monster, Sun Jiun said he would continue to chop, and cut his enemy. This young man tirelessly continued to cut through all the sand golems. As he rested, he noticed the sand golem had reduced in size. So Sun Jiun casually said, "Speaking of which, when did you become so cute?" Geez, our protagonist this time is really hilarious. Look at what he said, even a sand golem could blush. Sun Jiun thought that maybe the sand used to reshape this monster's body couldn't be obtained from around him continuously. That's why this monster is getting smaller in size. Seeing this possibility, Sun Jiun smiled broadly, filled with a murderous aura, as he invited the golem to go on a diet with him. The monster golem screamed loudly as if it refused to continue being cut. But Sun Jiun obviously paid no heed to that. The youth mercilessly attacked the sand golem again and slashed its limbs. Sun Jiun became even more excited, now that he knows this monster's weakness. Finally, the sand golem growled and grew to a size that was small enough to be roughly the size of a human. With its small size, Sun Jiun saw the creature's core on its back. No wonder when he cut on the back it felt harder than the other parts. Sun Jiun didn't want to waste any more time since this trial was timed. Suddenly the golem's hand was in front of him. Luckily Sun Jiun was able to dodge in time. This young man realized that the sand golem had become even more agile due to its small size. He was able to attack Sun Jiun quite fiercely. Even though the monster's movements changed very quickly, still not a single strike hit Sun Jiun. Until finally, the young man stood behind the monster and stabbed its core with all his might. The sand golem roared in agony as its life core was shattered. Now Sun Jiun had proven that he could overcome his fear and clear the first trial. As soon as the sand golem's core disappeared, the monster was instantly destroyed. In that instant, a bright light appeared behind Sun Jiun, which immediately made him understand that it was the gate to the next trial. Before entering the dimensional gate, Sun Jiun took time to absorb the sand golem's soul first. But sadly he failed because Sun Jiun's body was sucked into the dimensional gate too quickly. Although disappointed, Sun Jiun couldn't do much and just gave up when he was sent to the second trial. In this trial, Sun Jiun was asked to prove that he had defeated his own ego. Currently, Sun Jiun was standing in the wooden ruins of the orc village from the second floor. In front of him, there was still a smoldering fire burning the people's houses. As Sun Jiun walked out of one of the doors, there was a horde of orc hunters mourning their leader's departure. Sun Jiun realized that at this moment he was sent back in time after he defeated the village leader and destroyed the orc village. The orc hunters, whose bodies were enormous and their faces incomparably hideous, were glaring at Sun Jiun with expressions of immense anger. Their eyes were bloodshot, then they screamed loudly together. Sun Jiun knew they had entered the berserk phase. That is the phenomenon when the monsters are so angry that they go wild. Sun Jiun was really feeling unlucky right now, because an orc monster that enters the berserk phase is the same as an E-rank monster. The bigger and more terrifying monsters attacked Sun Jiun together. With an angry face, Sun Jiun thought monsters didn't deserve to grieve for the loss of their own family. It sickened Sun Jiun. So this young man immediately activated a few skills and launched, starting another massacre. It didn't take long for the orc hunters to be cut down by Sun Jiun. Their corpses were strewn about, exacerbating the sight of the village that was already on fire. Currently, only one orc remained standing with only one arm. Sun Jiun asked the creature, wouldn't it be annoying to be the only one left alive and see all of his family die? The creature was enraged at Sun Jiun's words. He immediately raised the sword with the last of his anger and strength. But Sun Jiun was quicker in giving him a strike and slashing through his head. With this, the system appeared and announced that Sun Jiun had proven that he was capable of overcoming his own ego. Sun Jiun also successfully completed the second trial. Now he couldn't delay absorbing the souls of the recently defeated orc hunters, because in a short time, the dimensional hole sucked him back into the next challenge. After absorbing a lot of orc hunters, necromancy Sun Jiun's skill had only increased by 6%. The collected souls have reached 19/30th. With this, Sun Jiun could smile happily as some of his skills rose after obtaining the new soul loot. By now Sun Jiun had entered the third area. Sun Jiun was asked to overcome his doubtful nature. When Sun Jiun opened his eyes, he noticed that he was already in the 6th floor trial area. The young man looked around for a while and noticed that there was a slight difference in the floor arrangement. Sun Jiun heaved a heavy sigh because the floor that appeared didn't seem to match the challenge the system presented. But Sun Jiun knew he couldn't expect anything reasonable in this tower of trial. In order to prepare for the next match, Sun Ji-yoon took a bottle of health potion from their inventory to restore his stamina, vitality, and magic power. Sun Ji-yoon immediately finished the drink in one gulp. His body immediately felt better after drinking the potion. Sun Ji-yoon immediately threw the drink bottle into the water. The water behind Sun Ji-yoon suddenly stirred and instantly lifted the floor tiles behind him. Sun Ji-yoon, who remembered that he could not be hit by water in this trial from the start, immediately activated the Assassin's Cape skill so he could run quickly from the water that was chasing him. While running quickly, Sun Ji-yoon thought that he had managed to meet the criteria of all the trials so far. That meant that Sun Ji-yoon only needed to pass this trial and find the red capture tile as the finish line. Until then, Sun Ji-yoon must not be exposed to water. Sun Ji-yoon thought he had become much faster and would not be caught up by the water. But suddenly the stepping stone under his feet was thrown up by a big wave of water. Sun Ji-yoon cursed inside his heart, because due to coming into contact with this water, Sun Ji-yoon's body lost strength, stamina, and abilities. Sun Ji-yoon was irritated because he had originally expected the stone floor to lift successively. So Sun Ji-yoon realized this was what he had to get for assuming the logic within the tower. In order to reduce the penalty for being hit by water, Sun Ji-yoon activated the instant acceleration skill to jump as far as he could. This young man kept jumping from one rock to another which was being lifted high by the waves of water. Sun Ji-yoon was determined to escape from that place because he refused to die there. Sun Ji-yoon kept jumping from one rock to another until finally a red captured tile came into view. Sun Ji-yoon became even more excited heading towards that place. But suddenly the water below made a huge eddy and immediately rose up, blocking Sun Ji-yoon's steps. The whirlpool was both a real opponent and an obstacle for Sun Ji-yoon before he reached his destination. Now the waters continued to attack and followed Sun Ji-yoon around at will, making the young man start to struggle to avoid the water that kept pushing him. This young man finally smiled happily when he saw the red captured tile was very close. Sun Ji-yoon only needed to run a bit more before he was finally hit by a powerful wave of water from behind, making the young man confused and for a moment lost consciousness. Would Sun Ji-yoon end up here? Suddenly Sun Ji-yoon's new necklace glowed and automatically protected him from more severe attacks. Sun Ji-yoon was surprised his body didn't die even though he was aware that he had taken a rather fatal blow. Apparently, the necklace had automatically used the soul of another creature that Sun Ji-yoon had absorbed to replace receiving a fatal blow from the opponent. So it was because of this that Sun Ji-yoon had once again been spared from distress. Although surprised by what had just happened, Sun Ji-yoon could not afford to waste any more time. This young man immediately jumped up and quickly ran to the captured tile. While running from the water wave attack, Sun Ji-yoon received an increasingly annoying notification that the speed effect of his suit had been deactivated. Now, Sun Ji-yoon had to run under his own power toward the red-colored floor. At such a pressing moment, Sun Ji-yoon finally decided to eat one of the orc's souls directly. With this, his magic power had been restored, and he was able to dodge faster the attacks of the water waves. Just as he was barely an inch away from Sun Ji-yoon arriving at the captured tile, a huge, extremely tall wave rose and blocked his path. Sun Ji-yoon was extremely surprised and panicked, because now he is surrounded by waves of water from all directions. Finally, this young man did the desperate thing. Leaving himself to fate, Sun Ji-yoon jumped into the wall of strong currents of water. The young man was thrown out quite high. He screamed loudly as he free falls onto the hard captured tile floor. There was a loud bang as the young man's body finally landed on the red floor. Some of the souls of the orc hunters that Sun Ji-yoon had obtained were destroyed, which he used to save himself during the free fall earlier. Sun Ji-yoon winced in pain for a moment. Then he realized that there was an opponent who had not lost yet. Sun Ji-yoon stared intently at the several waves of water that had not yet let go of him. But eventually, the system appeared and announced that Sun Ji-yoon had overcome his doubts. With this, the third trial succeeded in conquering Sun Ji-yoon and the waves of water slowly broke over his body. Despite cursing, this time Sun Ji-yoon was happy to receive the system's congratulations for successfully conquering the 7th floor trial. With this, Sun Ji-yoon managed to obtain several items as rewards and new skills. Don't miss the high enough points. As usual, after the challenge ended, this young man was directed to enter the waiting room. He could take a short break to recharge his energy. Inside the waiting room, Sun Ji-yoon went back to thinking about the outcome of this challenge. He began to feel that this time he had failed, because he is having a hard time completing the challenge this time. At this rate, Sun Ji-yoon was afraid of the challenges that would appear on the 8th floor later, because this young man realized that from here luck alone would not be enough. The room suddenly vibrated, and a notification from the system appeared. It was notified that 1,000 people had successfully cleared the 7th floor man's challenge. The system expansion had started, so from here many updates in the system. Even the floor invading system has appeared. These were all things that Sun Ji-yoon had been eagerly waiting for. But what mattered most to this young man was that he finally had the right to choose Radiance as a pioneer. Radiance is the advantage you get after becoming a pioneer on all floors. Challengers with Radiance status will be given unique traits, skills, and effects compared to the others. Sun Jun dumbfoundedly read the notification from the system. He wondered if the system had ever given something like this to another challenger before. Sun Jun was given 3 categories of choices, namely Conqueror, Hunter, and Monk. Sun Jun wanted to read the descriptions of the 3 categories first. Out of the 3 categories, Sun Jun eliminated the Monk category first because it didn't suit him. And finally, he chose the Conqueror category. Due to the effects of this radiance, the unique evolution of the trait begins. Sun Jun felt a great energy rush into his body. A system screen appears notifying that the choices will be categorized based on the challenger's current ability. There is the Summoner ability that is able to create a powerful army of undead with absorbed souls. There is a Swordsmanship magic ability that will make related skills masterable 3 times faster. There is also a Creator ability that can increase talents related to item creation. And wooden structures can also be mastered in just 3 days. After looking at the ability information, Sun Jun chose one, namely the Summoner ability. With this, the system automatically matched abilities with Sun Jun. After the combination skill was successfully created, Sun Jun's new status appeared on the hologram screen. With this, Sun Jun's body fused with the various effects of radiance. After the unification was completed, Sun Jun landed back in relief. Now Sun Jun would try out this new skill. With his new status, Sun Jun could merge useless skills to create new skills. This was really amazing according to Sun Jun. This young man immediately opened the skill list. For a moment he seemed confused about choosing the skill he wanted to combine, until finally Sun Jun chose the skill Contempt for the Weak and the skill Sustained Battle. After making sure, Sun Jun put these 2 skills together until a new combination of skills appeared. The hologram screen flashed brightly onto Sun Jun's face. I wonder what the new skill is. Sun Jun was surprised when he got a new skill called Forceful Breakthrough. Skill after combining 2 different skills, namely Contempt for the Weak and Sustained Battle. Although he expected to get more skill rank E, instead he only got rank D. Even so, Sun Jun was still happy, so he combined the other 2 skills and obtained the skill Strengthened Eyes rank E, which was only 1 rank up from before. After acquiring the new skill, Sun Jun returned to his bed thinking about what had happened to him as a pioneer, but instead of receiving a reward, it felt strange. However, he tried to forget about it and checked what reward he got. Sun Jun was rewarded with the Wind's Grace skill. With rank of the skill he obtained was very good, as it was able to increase speed by 10% and he could stack it 7 times. Which meant that he could increase speed by 70%, not to mention the skill didn't use mana. The gift he got was a shoe with 2 small wings. Sun Jun liked all the gifts on the 7th floor, but he was quite irritated when he saw the shop because it turned out that the skills sold were low for a high price. However, Sun Jun still bought it, let alone magic-related skills. The skill he had purchased was Magic Resistance rank at the price of his 12,000 points. Sun Jun intended to use the skill if hit by a skill like Heart Solidarity. Then the Magic Circuit skill was obtained. When it was attached to Sun Jun's body, he felt that his whole body was burning because it was engraved all over his body. But after that, Sun Jun's body felt so light. After that, Sun Jun stood up, walked away from the bed, and faced the wall. He then released his strength and intended to use the skills he got. Slammed his foot on the floor to create a wave that cracked the floor. Sun Jun wondered about that, for he was sure that the mana circuit must have increased his physical strength as well, and he was also proud to have bought a skill that turned out to be quite good. Then on the system, it was written that Sun Jun could use a dead soul to revive someone who died around him. At that time, the level of those who revived was according to the quality and quantity of souls used. Sun Jun was then curious about the dead raising skill he got, so he also tried using it in the trial. Sun Jun said that now was the time to decide whether to go directly to the next trial or return to Earth. A hunter sat uneasily on an arm, as he had been unable to successfully recruit the other hunters that were supposed to be in his party. It was then that he noticed someone who had arrived who was none other than 3 big men. One of them asked the hunter if he still needed party members. After that, they said that the hunter should have given his entry license, because the license would be forfeited if he did not enter the gate within a certain time. The 3 people who asked for the license were going to replace it with money, while the hunter looked annoyed because it turned out that the 3 people had already arrived. The hunter said again that he had no intention of granting the license, but before the hunter had finished speaking, one of the 3 men immediately cut in and said the hunter was a stupid bastard, then asked why no one wanted to join the party. That's around there. The reason was that he was only a hunter with rank E, and how could a hunter want to join forces with trash like him? Then they laughed at the hunter too, and that was when Sun Jun came over and asked if there was still a place to join the hunter's party. People looked at Sun Jun, while Sun Jun took out his hunter ID card and showed it to the hunter. Sun Jun said he was a C rank hunter and asked if he met the qualifications. Hunter was very happy, He stood up and answered of course he accepted. Meanwhile, the person from earlier immediately grabbed Han Sun-joon's shoulder and asked if he didn't see the many people waiting there, saying that Han Sun-joon was blind. Han Sun-joon flashed a mocking smile and said why that person didn't just join the hunter party earlier. The person earlier was irritated at what Han Sun-joon said and bullied Han Sun-joon. Han Sun-joon was not afraid of that bluff and instead asked the person to remove his hand from his shoulder lest Han Sun-joon breaks him. Han Sun-joon tried to intimidate the person by releasing energy so strong that it caused the person's hand to lift itself from Han Sun-joon's shoulder. The person from earlier started to get scared and asked why Han Sun-joon could possess such powerful energy, and doubted whether it was true that Han Sun-joon was a hunter with the same C rank as himself. The other two people even praised the person earlier and thought that the energy belonged to him, but the person said that it was not from him. The two people were then confused. The person from earlier said, since the people from the association were watching, he let Han Sun-joon and the hunter this time, then invited the other two people to leave. After the three people left, the hunter was even annoyed and didn't like the situation from the start. Seeing the hunter's behavior, Han Sun-joon then invited the hunter to enter the gate because no one wanted to join him anymore. The hunter was confused and asked if it was just the two of us. In short, the two of them entered the gate, and the hunter couldn't believe that they had entered there. Han Sun-joon asked the hunter not to be nervous because Han Sun-joon could defeat many rank D hunters by himself. The hunter earlier was confused and asked if it wasn't Han Sun-joon's first dungeon. Han Sun-joon agreed, but his heart told him that the Tower of Trials wasn't a dungeon. The hunter then said that they had just met, but clearing the dungeon was a matter of life and death. He just wanted to say that between hunters C and E in Han Sun-joon's opinion who had the highest probability of dying. Han Sun-joon only remained silent. Then the hunter continued his words that the majority would think that it was the weaker E-rank hunters who had the highest mortality rate. But in fact, it was the C-rank hunters, because the E-rank hunters knew how weak they were, so they were sometimes more vigilant. But if rank C they feel very confident, then their death rate is very high. It's the same with driving accident rates going up when a person is feeling the most confident. And according to the hunters, the dungeon was much more dangerous than Han Sun-joon had thought. Then in essence the hunter was worried about Han Sun-joon because of his overconfidence. Han Sun-joon confirmed what the hunter said. The hunter then wanted to become the leader of the party even though Han Sun-joon also wanted to, but Han Sun-joon couldn't help but agree to it. The hunter had thanked him and hoped that Han Sun-joon wouldn't be angry about it. After that, they continued their journey when they met a lizardman who was known as a weapon skill user. The hunter had started to face first whereas Han Sun-joon had only looked at the extent of the hunter's experience in combat. The hunter had confronted the lizardman earlier, but neither of them had any reaction, so Han Sun-joon assumed that they were having a staring contest. Han Sun-joon thought that he only had 3 days before returning to Earth, so he would not waste his time at the entrance. Then Han Sun-joon joined in to defeat the lizardman. The hunter had tried to stop him, but Han Sun-joon didn't care and immediately cast the skill with instant acceleration. Han Sun-joon swiftly lunged at the lizardman and one slash finished him off. The hunter was taken aback, but Han Sun-joon said that he was in a hurry so he couldn't hurt to join in. Han Sun-joon then suggested to the hunter earlier that he should lead the party from then on. After saying that a large number of lizardmen arrived, Han Sun-joon easily finished them all off. Han Sun-joon called it a one-hit massacre. Hunter was just silent watching the battle that he called the Battle of the Super Rookie. Han Sun-joon stabbed the lizardman's stomach and obtained a D-rank code which would later be useful for alchemy and crafting. Han Sun-joon and the hunter had also collected them, even though the hunter had apologized for not recruiting a carrier. While the two were conversing, one of the lizardmen unknowingly attacked Han Sun-joon from behind, but Han Sun-joon dodged it easily. Han Sun-joon directly smacked the lizardman until its head pierced through the roof of the entrance. Han Sun-joon then invited the hunter outside to talk, because it would be dangerous if they didn't concentrate there. Han Sun-joon, who had absorbed the lizardman's soul, had a 0.7% increase in the profession, but Han Sun-joon realized that defeating D-rank monsters was very difficult to increase his profession. Then they arrived at the boss gate room alone. The hunter was very pleased and he hoped that clearing the dungeon with Han Sun-joon would be possible. The hunter had asked if Han Sun-joon was, but Han Sun-joon said that there was no need because he was fine. When they entered the boss's gate, it turned out that there was already a lizard king. Han Sun-joon had intended to face him alone like earlier, but the hunter stopped him and asked about Han Sun-joon's plan. Han Sun-joon just flashed a smile and said he had no plans. Then Han Sun-joon and Lizard King faced each other. The battle between Han Sun-joon and the Lizard King was quite fierce. Even Han Sun-joon admitted that the Lizard King's incredible speed was insufficient with his massive body, but that didn't mean Han Sun-joon couldn't catch up to him. In the next attack, Han Sun-joon was hit by the tail of the Lizard King and sent him flying into the rocky wall of the Lizard King's throne. The hunter was shocked at what was happening and screamed Han Sun-joon's name in panic. Then the system said that the soul in the inventory was absorbing Han Sunjun's damage. But Han Sunjun didn't care because he thought he had to be at least that difficult to be able to try out his new skill. Han Sunjun got up with such ease that the hunter could breathe a sigh of relief. Han Sunjun had said that the Lizard King's throne was destroyed and that it might be a sign of something bad. Lizard King growled, then released his immense energy from his mouth into the air. Han Sunjun cast his slow movement skill to slow down all movements by 25%. After that, Han Sunjun activated the forceful breakthrough skill that he had previously obtained. Han Sunjun possessed twice the magic power compared to the amount of magic power of the opponent who used the slow movement skill. Then all energy effects are removed. However, his slow movements weren't sure about the skill because it was created through combinations, but the skill worked very well. Meanwhile, the hunter suddenly had his body bound by an energy chain that made his body refuse to listen to what he was saying. The hunter asked Han Sunjun for help. Han Sunjun and the Lizard King noticed this, and Han Sunjun asked the hunter to wait, but the Lizard King charged toward the hunter with extreme speed. Seeing that Han Sunjun got angry and said that the Lizard King's opponent was him, he also chased after the Lizard King, but unfortunately was too far from Han Sunjun's distance. Han Sunjun summoned the dead, but it did not affect the Lizard King, but the one they created allowed Han Sunjun to save the hunter. Han Sunjun's Wind Grace skill stack increased, his movement speed increased by 60%, and the current skill stack was 6-7. In that way, Han Sunjun nimbly slashed the Lizard King's body from all sides. The system said that the Lizard King was defeated and the next boss of the dungeon will appear in 14 days. Han Sunjun's stars also increased due to absorbing the Lizard King's soul, and several others also increased. Han Sunjun absorbed one of the Lizard King's skills, the Spiritual Eyes rank D skill. One man yawned. He felt bored because 3 gates were open at the same time and nothing happened. The man then asked his team members if nothing had happened, and his team members said nothing. The man then thought that normally a normal party hunter would leave after clearing half of the gates, and the raiding party went ahead and defeated the dungeon boss. The man then cursed, saying that he was from the same association, but why didn't his team get any commissions? He was jealous of the raid team. If the party hunter cleared the gate straight away, then a management unit like him would get a bonus. However, that was only possible if the raider was a rank hunter, and thus he thought there was no way a hunter of such a high rank would be there. It was then that the gate opened, only to see Han Sunjun and the hunter coming out. The male team member who saw it immediately said that the third-party hunter had finished the raid and left. The man immediately looked at the two of them and asked why only the two of them had gone out and raided. They probably left after clearing half of the dungeon. However, unfinished, the man thought he looked at the gate and was surprised that the gate had turned a gray color, meaning that the boss of the dungeon had been defeated. The man couldn't believe it and immediately ran up to Han Sunjun and the hunter while asking if it was true that they had completed the raid. Being asked like that, Han Sunjun asked back who the man was. The man then replied that he was the person in charge of the gate in the park, the team leader of the gate management unit of the Hunter Association, named Shin Wujin. The hunter then asked if Shin Wujin wanted to buy the ownership rights to the gate. Shin Wujin said yes and wanted to make a bid with them. The hunter said that he had no right to decide because Han Sunjun cleared the dungeon alone. Of course, Shin Wujin was taken aback by that remark, then asked if Han Sunjun resolved alone he must be a rank hunter, but Han Sunjun answered that he was only a C rank hunter. Han Sunjun and Shin Wujin then bargained with each other. Shin Wujin made an offer of 1.2 billion won, which made Han Sunjun very surprised. A woman piled a lot of files on the table. She complained that after returning from the tower she was working non-stop. Then he glanced at a sign that said management team for a Tower of Trials Challenger Team Leader Hyun. She briefly remembers the words of her superiors. She then thought of the challengers hiding and didn't expect that persuading them would be that difficult. Gathering 10 people's challengers was already difficult, not to mention that all of them were challengers who chose the easy difficulty level. In his opinion, it would not be good to satisfy the higher-ups. Then she remembered someone who was none other than Han Sunjun, the person she thought could clear the 4th floor by herself. She regretted not recruiting him. The woman then opened her cell phone because someone called her so late at night. When she saw it, she was surprised because Han Sunjun had sent a message to meet her briefly. Han Sunjun, who was at the cafe at the time, looked at his account balance, which at that time already contained 1.3 billion won. He couldn't believe he had gotten that much money, but he found it quite fun. The doorbell of the cafe opened, and the woman came rushing in. Han Sunjun greeted the woman named Lee Haein. She approached Han Sunjun. The two of them sat down at the same table and then talked to each other. Lee Haein asked if Han Sunjun had stopped from the tower. Han Sunjun replied that he would continue anyway, whereas why he contacted Lee Haein was because Han Sunjun needed a favor. He needed a guild, namely, a place that allows him to enter the tower freely, with the conditions being, first, the right to refuse any summons from the guild. The 2 guilds would not meddle in the affairs of the tower. The 3 rights to use the guild's dungeon as he pleased. After that, Han Sunjun asked if any guild could agree to those terms. However, afterward, the mood changed and Lee Hyun said that the conditions from Han Sunjun were impossible to fulfill. If Han Sunjun were to look at it from the guild's side, they would gain nothing. Han Sunjun realized that he had gone too far. However, it turned out that Lee Hyun had instead asked Han Sunjun to join her White Silver Guild and she promised to grant Han Sunjun everything. Han Sunjun was now sleeping on a bus. He felt that the previous day had been very productive, but as for the guild's matters, he still needed to do something, namely clear a rank C dungeon by himself. It turned out to be Lee Hyun's words. She said that Han Sunjun needed to be that good for his boss to accept the conditions that Han Sunjun had put forward because the right to use the guild's dungeon could not be given to just anyone. And that meant there were very few people who could exploit the White Silver Guild's dungeons. And Han Sunjun had to become someone on the rise or a hunter the guild was after. Han Sunjun and Lee Hyun then struck a deal in which Han Sunjun requested a C-rank dungeon be made, and he was sure that he would not make Lee Hyun regret it. Han Sunjun, who was still on the bus, had already arrived at Najiang District, Uijeongbu, Chunbo Mountain. He then ran very fast, which he thought was a warm-up. In a different place, Lee Hyun arrived in front of a gate. He greeted some guards and said that he came there because he had reserved the gate raid in 1 hour. Lee Hyun showed his identification card, which the guards there noticed right away. They asked Lee Hyun to sit down to wait since the time was quite long, but that was when Han Sunjun came. Han Sunjun came with a gust of wind strong enough to make several nearby objects topple over, whereas Lee Hyun couldn't believe that Han Sunjun created such a gale of wind just by running. Then Lee Hyun said that he had finished the procedure and had Han Sunjun tell him he was ready. Han Sunjun compiled and the gate raid began to test his skills. When they entered the gate, it turned out to be in a field. Han Sunjun tried to protect Lee Hyun, but according to Lee Hyun, it was unnecessary because he was wearing an artifact given to him by his guild called Empress's Necklace Rank A. According to Lee Hyun, it can protect its user from any attacks. Han Sunjun understood and he could fight more freely without thinking about Lee Hyun anymore. Han Sunjun activated the spiritual eye skill he absorbed from the Lizard King. With that skill he was able to detect invisible enemies. Then a group of poison demons from a rank C dungeon came. Lee Hyun came and immediately told Han Sunjun that it was an irregular dungeon. Han Sunjun fought all those poisonous demons and defeated them with ease. Lee Hyun couldn't believe all of that and thought it was abnormal, but she already guessed that his decision was very correct. Well, that's all for today's discussion. Next, there are still many interesting things from Han Sunjun's journey, so if you are curious about the continuation of the story, we will discuss it in the next video.